Variables on both sides. The objective of this video is to solve equations with variables on both sides. So now we've learned all of the possible steps for solving multi-step equations. Our very first thing is to recall lesson 7, where we learned that we must simplify each side. So in this example, I will simplify by using the distributive property. So I end up with a positive 7 minus 28x. And I'm going to bring down everything I did not use. So 233 equals 2. Then I'm going to combine like terms. So 2 plus 7, which is 9, equals 233. Then we would isolate the variable group by getting rid of the 9, so minus 9 on both sides. So 233 minus 9 is equal to 224. Negative 28x stays because everything else became 0. Then I will isolate the variable by dividing negative 28x. So x is equal to negative 8. So here we want to solve for the equation, and our very first step is to get variable on one side. So now we're going to start to get different choices where we're going to follow the same guidelines, but we might end up with different process. As long as we end up with the same answer, you can choose whichever one makes you happy. So you may choose to get all the variables to the left or to the right. It doesn't really matter. I am going to choose to get this 5x to the right. And in order to do that, I'm going to do the opposite. So because it's a positive 5x, I am going to subtract 5x. And I'm going to keep the x in this case because I'm just moving the entire x. I'm not solving for anything right now. So let's see what's left over. I'm left with 22. That 5 minus 5 is equal to 0, which is why I did that. Equal stays, 10 stays, but now negative 8, well, positive 8 minus 5 is equal to positive 3x. Now we can isolate variable group by getting rid of the 10, so minus 10 on both sides. 22 minus 10 is equal to 12. That gave me 0, 3x stays. Now we can isolate the variable by dividing by 3. So 12 divided by 3 is equal to 4. 3 over 3 is just equal to 1. So one of these x. Notice how neat I am writing. Notice how clear I can see what I am doing, so I do not confuse myself. So step 1 is to simplify each side. So look on the left, nothing to simplify, so we can just rewrite it. Look on the right, is there something to simplify? Well, we have like terms that we can combine. So I'm going to keep the n, combine 12 and 11, which gives me 23. Now I am going to get variable on one side. I am going to choose to bring this n over to the left. So I am going to subtract. Now subtracting an n is the same thing as subtracting a negative 1n. So negative 8 minus 1 is equal to negative 9. We are talking about n. Everything else stays. The n minus n become 0. Then we want to isolate variable group. So I want to get rid of the negative 22 by adding 22. So negative n stays. Negative 9n stays. 23 plus 22 is equal to 45. Now we want to isolate the variable by dividing by negative 9. So n is equal to 5. Now you try. Pause your video, try and solve this problem, and then press play to see if your answer is correct. Pause your video now. So step 1 would be to simplify each side. There is no distributive property that I can do. Can I combine like terms? Well, on the right side, I notice that I can combine 4 and 1. So that's going to give me 5. And I can combine 6b and negative 8b, which gives me negative 2b. So everything else that stays the same, I'm just going to bring down. Next, I want to get variables on one side. So I am going to use addition or subtraction. So I'm going to choose to get the b over on the left. So I need to do addition because I have a negative 2b. I need to do the opposite, so plus 2b. Notice how I'm putting my b's underneath each other so I don't get confused. So this turns into 0, and I'm left with negative 6b. Everything else stays the same. Now I'm going to isolate my variable group by undoing addition, so I'm going to subtract. I am left with negative 6b because this becomes 0. 5 minus 5 also becomes 0. However, I need a placeholder for the right-hand side of my equation. So in this case, I will actually write the number 0. Then I will isolate my variable by undoing multiplication. So I will divide by negative 6. 0 divided by anything will always give you 0. So b equals 0 is the answer.